Hello, everyone. Last talk of the day. Real reviews. As I'm walking off the screen. Last talk of the day. I'm done. Bye. Real quick. I'm just moderating. I'm not here to give my opinions. We have three fantastic critiquers to do that. If we want to start, if you want to introduce yourselves, Carlos.
Yeah, my name is Carlos. I'm an animator working currently at Blizzard Entertainment, working on Diablo 4.
Awesome. Lindsay.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Pinley, and I'm the animation lead at Deep Silver Volition.
Excellent. And Melissa.
Hi, I'm Melissa Shem, and I'm a senior animator on the gameplay team at Sony Santa Monica.
Yes, fantastic group. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and switch to the first reel, and we can just go ahead and get it started. Let me... Boop. Hold on. The screen wasn't right. And I'm going to make myself go away so that it's just the three of you. And we are magic. So, if one of you wants to go ahead and let's check out this first animation.
Hit play?
Hit play.
Yeah, let's watch.
Here we go. It's working, right?
Yes.
Cool.
All right.
Who
Cool.
wants to begin?
Rock, paper, scissors? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Who has thoughts?
I'll start then.
Okay.
The first shot interests me because I've done something similar in recent times with the idea of this. I'm going to call it phasing, I guess, where like the character's coming back. I think on a high level, if you're trying to incorporate something like that, you have to understand or think about what is that trying to tell your audience? Like, why are you including the phasing to begin with? If it's just like, I just want it to look flashy, it's kind of not good enough of a reason, right?
Right.
Regarding combat animation, especially, like, is that a tell? Is that the anticipation to the motion that you're trying to use as an indicator for your player viewer to know, oh, an attack is coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely something that stood out to me about this. Like, I like the idea, and I think you can keep it in, but you have to find where best to use it. And in this case, it's a better way to scrub it. I feel like in this case, you should see the character have appeared in its final destination, and then the trailing effect follows it. Like it's dragging behind rather than leading with the effect and then they appear, right? So I'll let the other two comment as well.
Yeah, I don't have much on this one specifically. Like I agree with you on that. The thing that I kind of notice is kind of just like a general setup of how I like to kind of see reels is we've got a lot of, you see it from this angle and then you see it again from another angle, where I feel like you could actually just put those side by side even, and then I can see both angles at the same time, because then every time you have like a new camera angle, to me it always feels like, oh, this is a new scene, where in reality we're looking at the same asset twice, and I do still want to see it from multiple angles. But I kind of get like mentally tricked, like, wait, is this something new or is this the same thing? And we see that a lot throughout like the reel, like on, I think almost every single asset, they show, maybe not the walking one, but you also see like here we have one camera angle and then we've got another one and it plays right back to back. And I think that works in like some very specific animations. But I think for these here, it would be good to like maybe see those side by side, and then maybe like even just repeat them like 2, maybe 3 times so you can actually see it in play. The other thing I always also really like is kind of just presentation, where like play blasts are always good, but a little bit of presentation can go a long way. So having things rendered obviously looks very good, but always keep in mind, like, you know, the background back here. I'm gonna use the little marker thing where you've got like these hard edges. For me, that's a little distracting because my eye kind of immediately goes to that edge. So I would take it and just even make the space bigger, like so you have like a flat plane or like a sphere or something like that, because it takes away from me actually looking at your work. It's like the first thing that my eye grabs is a very harsh angle, and you see that in a lot of these places. Like this one, I would just take it and just extend like the whole thing across and give it like a platform to be on. What do you got, Carlos?
Yeah, so I totally agree with both of you. One thing I also noticed was that, let me scrub here. So usually when you are trying to apply to some studio, your first and last shots should be the most like interesting ones, because you're trying to cut the attention of the recruiter or animator that are like reviewing your reel. And in this particular case, I think this last anim is not as strong in terms of like what you're showing compared to the rest, which you already have like really good ideas. You can keep polishing and whatnot, but idea wise, it's there. It's just that at the end, you're almost feeling like a little bit like, oh, this is okay, but it's not like this or this in terms of like ideas. It's very simple, and you're doing play through 2 times of the same thing, the same angle. So it's not like interesting to finish your reel with that. But I really like some of the ideas, especially the attitude, like on this one. It's like really fun. You can keep pushing poses and timing and spacing and whatnot. And also one last thing I wanted to mention, cameras, like in general, especially for gameplay, they are another character. Don't think about cameras as, oh, this is just like I'm showing something, and it's like another character. So you need to think about how you can move it, position that accordingly to boost whatever you're trying to convey or communicate. In this case, for example, with this one, it's too orthographic of an angle. So your anim should go like almost sideways in this case, or 3/4 or something like that. But yeah, that's my comments.
Yeah. You what you pointed out, like personality. Like I love to see personality, even if it's just like a walk. Like it could be the most like basic animation of like a stand, but if I can see personality, that stands out so strong. And then pair that with like a really good camera angle, and you know, kind of think about how you want to present that character and everything. That stands out leaps and bounds for me over just, you know, just having someone standing like facing an orthographic view or something.
Yeah, because you have to keep in mind that you're basically competing with like tons of different animators. You need to stand out from like I don't know, hundreds. So whatever you can do to make it more interesting, especially at the beginning of the reel, like the first, I don't know, 50 seconds, 20 seconds are like the most important ones, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't know how much time we have left on this one, but I will quickly throw in like
you got 5 minutes. Milk it.
Oh, dang!
Nice.
Cool. So to put on top of what everyone said, which I fully agree upon, having like in this case, where is it? The camera being straight on, right? You lose this person's silhouette, this character's silhouette. You know, I have to be reminded of this even today.
Yeah, me too.
add asymmetry to your posing, right? Like maybe this character, you know, like this is a great strong pose. I think it's fun.
Yep.
It shows her character. When she winds up, you know, make sure this weight is maybe shifted a bit over here, and you can, you know, you really see a nice curve. Sorry, I'm using a mouse, so my lines are not going to be good. But you know, you can push your line of action there. When she comes forward, maybe she like her movement arcs and can go that way, right?
Yeah.
And maybe she ends up in a pose where her head's here and, you know, her arms overshot over here, and she's like that or whatever. This is a horrible drawing. I apologize. But but like, you know, your reel is going to be a work in progress for your entire career pretty much.
Yeah.
So keep adding on it. No, like, you know, you can walk away from a piece and be like, you know what, I got to start something new. I'll take the input I got from others and apply it going forward. So, you know, you can either, you know, keep working on this one or like start from scratch, whatever, you know, feels best for you. But well, you know, like, this is a super fun pose of bouncing the hair and the ears. Great. Anyway, so I wanted to touch on that, like add asymmetry to make your poses more interesting. Look at those, you know, silhouettes and those lines of actions for sure.
Yeah. And definitely try to track all your arcs. That's super important, especially when you're polishing. Making sure that every main action or every main pose, it's being like carefully tracked, so you know that your root or your cog control is being like put in place at the moment that you need it, and not like, yo, you're just moving it because now I need to move it. So tracking every arc, it's like really important.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next one then.
Okay.
Let me do this. Whoop, that's not the ones I wanted. There's the screen I wanted. All right, so next one is Pat, 3D animator.
I love the splash screen.
Yeah.
I'll hit play.
Yeah.
I forgot.
You look good, by the way.
Thanks for noticing. I have been working out lately.
Cool. Who wants to go first?
I can say a couple things. So the first, I mean, a lot of things actually caught my eye, but the thing that I often like kind of preach about, you know, with my team internally even, is like, I want to see what things look like in Engine. And I know like a lot of, you know, maybe students or people may not have access to that stuff, but if you do and you can get it in Engine, man, do it, because that's always like the number one seller for me. So seeing like stuff like this in action, of like, this is your work in the Engine, how it's running through the Anim networks and everything like that. I love to see that stuff, because then it shows that you understand like the system around it and like how things move in and outside of the Anim graph and one animation into another. So like I said, I know that's hard to do for like some students. They may not have access to like any kind of Engine. And even if it's not like a full-fledged game, if it's just like a level or a space that you can put them in, actually seeing it there is even enough. But I love to see that stuff. Because I think we all know from experience, we can make something in like Mobu Maya or 3ds Max, and then we get an Engine like, oh,
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't account for that. And like,
Absolutely.
it's a totally different
Yeah.
world sometimes. So you never know what's really fully going to happen to your work until you get it in there. So I love seeing that in Reels. So like, awesome job on getting this in here. This is cool.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I really like the presentation of this, like having different angles and like colors and ways of showing your anime it goes like a long way when you see like so many reels even if you're like applying for different places, you're competing with more people. So every time you can stand out, it's like really valuable. And I really like where is it? Yeah, acting shots, really, really good. Like if you can do one and show that you're understanding of not just mechanics of like body mechanics, but also acting, it's gonna definitely help you out if you're gonna apply to some place that, for example, they have their own cinematic team. So anything that you can do to make you stand out, it's like super helpful. And overall, I really like this reel. There's a few things I would change. Let me see. So on this one, let me see. So after the character lands, you see like a few frames, I'll say like 40 frames of not much. And if you're gonna plan the character like that, you can have like a moving hold, but having like all sorts of like different movements with not much else, it's a little bit distracting. So in this case, my advice would be you can plant the character there, and then let me grab my pen.
I want to throw in like this is a very like superhero move, so definitely
Right.
look at like a Marvel movie and
Absolutely.
see how solid those characters land. When they,
Yes.
do actions like this.
Like this, your knees are like moving a lot, and the character is barely moving. So if you're gonna decide to plan the character, just plan it and do it like a really good moving hold, and then you can change to the whatever pose it's ending here.
So yeah, to continue with that, I agree with everything everyone has said. I like the packaging of this reel. Like it's super cute.
Yeah.
What I think the reel itself shows a lot of different things, which is great, right? Obviously, like to me, this is a reel that's wanting to get into gameplay, but the acting is definitely like a nice like cherry on top, because we like to maintain character and personality even in gameplay moves, like
Yes.
even the run cycles and things that are kind of generic. We still want to infuse personality into them.
Yeah.
So it's good to see that you have an understanding of that and you can execute on it. What I will say is you want to also make sure that all your pieces are as strong as possible, right? And I do feel like there are some pieces in here that don't quite measure up to some of the stronger ones. Like this is a really good example of like your motion capture cleanup. It's very clean. It's impactful. This to me, like I'm like, oh, you really accentuated the mocap you had, right? Like there's this nice hang time and this little where is it? You're stretching of the limbs to try and make it stylized and cartoony, coming from like realistic mocap data. That's a great skill to show that you know how to manipulate data. But like something like this, I think I like the ideas, but the execution isn't as strong. Like moves, I feel like could right now they're like move, 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 but like what you want to look for is like a cadence and a beat into like something like a combo shot, like 1, 2, 3 or something like that, right? And then and cleaning up, like Carlos said, like making some of these poses stronger. Like maybe the leg is more here, maybe it's your camera even, locking these feet down so they don't slide around, because
Right.
that won't help it look strong. Like this, you can really push that C pose kind of thing, and knee there, and I don't know what's going on with my drawing, but and I think like these could also use an extra element. Like I'm not sure what this leg is doing, right? So
Mhm.
I think a few of these pieces could use some extra polish, but with that work, they will all be elevated to that same level.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think also, I'll echo everyone else's. Like, I love like the style and everything you put into this reel. That's really awesome. But echoing what Carlos said on on the last reel, you always want to start with your strongest and end with your strongest asset. And I think this one is good, but I think there are stronger assets. Like even this one, I feel is a stronger asset than this cute little guy. And he's great. He's adorable and everything, but it's almost kind of hiding what you could do, because I have reviewed reels personally that have come into us, and I have found like the stronger assets are later. And if I had seen that sooner, like if I've even come across where if the first asset's not strong enough, I'll just be like, nope, done, like move on. I've got a bunch of reels to review. And that's kind of like one of the harsh realities sometimes, is that when you get a lot of applicants, you may only have like the first 5 to 10 seconds to sell someone on your work. So if you're not very cognizant of what you start your reel with or what you end with, because if they make it all the way through the reel, like, holy cow, congrats, like that's awesome. And you always want to end it on like a super high note, but you've got to snag those first 10 seconds. And I think that's always really vital. And I think you have something in this reel, like you like this one is a good example. I think you could probably use this one as well. This big guy. But just, always remember like 10 seconds, like that's the window. And even like don't rely on audio either, because like some people will just turn the audio off. They may not have headphones on. Like you got to sell it all in the presentation of your work. But overall, I think this is like a really cool reel, and with more polish, like Melissa said, it would be a really like good contender.
Yeah, fully agree.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, nice.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Megan Groschow.
It is live, or yes?
Yep, it's live.
Okay, I'm gonna hit play.
Wait.
Oh, wait.
Go for it. No, sorry.
Hitting play.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. I'll go first because this is a fellow anim schooler. So shout out to anim school. But yeah, I really like this reel. Overall, I think it shows that you know how to implement things in game, as well as having like a strong sense of body mechanics. That's awesome. A few things that I think. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. And play. So, like I was saying, this reel, I really like it. It's showing a lot of good body mechanics and different types of movements. It's not just the usual, oh, it's walking and running and blah, blah. A few things that I would recommend seeing if you can adjust is like, no, it was the next one, this one. So here you can't really tell what's going on other than the big motion. So in terms of like choreographing this, I would try to make it camera wise a little bit more friendly to the viewer. And since everything is happening so fast, you can't really tell the camera movement. The shaking is like a little bit aggressive. So keep in mind that whatever you do to the camera is going to affect how your animation is being perceived. But overall, I really like the creature work. Some really strong poses. So good job in there. And this part, I think it's cool to show that you're understanding how to like work with mocap, but you can like almost play it once, because right now you're playing like a few times, and at first I didn't realize that it was like the same thing. But yeah, overall I really like this reel.
Yeah.
Lindsay, you want to comment?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I echo a lot of what Carlos said, where like a lot of this, you show really strong body mechanics and stuff like that. For me personally, I would almost like to see a lot of these shots flipped, where you show me the gameplay version as the big screen, and then like
Right.
the movie version or the Maya version as the thumbnail, because you've got like, look at that, like that's beautiful, like with the
Yeah.
lighting and the textures on, you've got like the VFX in the background, like that. Even if you're not responsible for all that stuff in the background, it still kind of makes your work sing, and it really shows you kind of like what the final product is going to be. So I would actually like switch these. If you've got the gameplay data to do it, flip them. But also, if you didn't have that, the presentation that is in here, like I like the gradient fade in the background. It's not harsh on the eyes, so my eyes don't draw to that any. And I had another one. Oh, I would probably start this reel like kind of like we've said the past two ones. You know, I think there's a stronger asset you could start with, and I kind of understand where you're going, where you're starting with like a stand, which is like the one thing every player does. Obviously, is they stand, they move, they run, they jog, they walk. But from just viewing this, this combo animation is way more interesting than the stand. So I would actually move that, or possibly one of the other ones later in the reel, to the beginning, because the stand is cool, but if I see the stand, I'm like, okay, well, is this reel going to be full of stands or something like that? But there's so much other beautiful stuff on this reel that just like showcases way better. And props to anyone who does creature animation. I would love to do creature work, and like if you have it, man, show it, because like it's so few and far between, and not a lot of places teach it, and not a lot of studios even work with creatures a lot. So like, huge props for getting some creature stuff in, and it looks really nice too. Like the posing is really good. The timing of that swing, I really like that, and like kind of the smear that you're doing, I love that. Like it just screams style, and it looks really great. This one, I agree with Carlos. Like I don't know if I would need to see this one twice to kind of get the idea. The only thing that also kind of caught my eye is the reaction feels a little too early. I feel like you could almost hold the reaction for like 1 or 2 more frames. Just a bit, because it almost feels like you should have the arrow hit, or like 1 frame before it hits, and then react. But again, that's like super polishy stuff, and you, obviously, you would kind of save that for the end. But that's kind of like really the only thing that really stood out to me quality wise is just that one little thing. But overall, like, awesome reel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. This reel is very cohesive. Totally appeals to like the gameplay animator in me, right?
Yeah.
I definitely agree with shifting some shots around just to open and close with your strongest shots. So I'm gonna go maybe more into like polishy details because I think there's a great foundation here, and if you just layer on a couple of things, it's just gonna like make it shine even more. So like we talk about idols, we talk about personality. You want to see that personality. I would almost have this guy like add a layer on top of Maya or whatever you're working on, and just have him like looking around, like he's alert, right? Like, what is his state of mind? And in this case, he looks like he's combat ready. Maybe he's scanning around, that sort of thing. I think going into the run cycle, the silhouette doesn't change much, right? Like I would almost think this hammer arm might hang out, a little bit further back, right? And that'll overall open up his silhouette as well. I will also say, like, I don't know what the design needs are in this project that you've worked on, right? Like you're obviously implementing animations in game, you're working with a game designer, right? So, I'm sure you've probably had to negotiate that balance of, okay, what can I get away with animation, but also while fulfilling what gameplay requires, like hit frames and, how many frames in anticipation and stuff. So, was there a reason why you had to keep this arm in, or can you outstretch it, right? What's the next shot? This I think is super great. The combo, where's the play button? The combo, I think I almost want to give some breathing space in some of the hits. But again, I don't know what your metrics are regarding like the cadence of each hit, like bam, and then this big hold. Like maybe you can add 1 or 2 more frames in here before like really coming down in. Like
to really sell that, like pose. Yeah.
Like I would maybe get rid of this pose. This one, like just boop, and then like pop straight to there, and then right, and it'll just really make it snap. Maybe you need this contact pose to stay here, so you'll have to find a way where you can shift those frames around before, right? This one, maybe you can lift. It's a pretty strong curve from this angle. It's too bad, but maybe you can add
drag.
Really drag here. Add that smear frame that you've applied elsewhere here before into this, and maybe even a hand is still a little bit dragging. These are super nitpicky. I love the picture-in-picture as well, as everyone says. That's great. It's good. Same thing with this Griffin's idol. Having head scan will just like make it a little bit nicer. This, I love that you showed raw mocap and clean data and how you stitched it, how you added some personality to it. I think some of the timing here could be looked at again, where like the hang time would be like around here while he's like at his peak, and then he would speed up into the row, right? I feel like the hang time might be like too late. Like this part could be sped up, but like this part's okay. So here and then like bam into the row. And I almost think like even this run out is too long, and like it could be sped up somehow, or you can show him really launch himself forward. Like there's something about this where his legs feel disconnected from what his body's doing almost. And that could be where you had to transition between clips. But I think overall, like this could have a little bit more polished work, and he could like charge even faster towards it off the screen.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, super polishy notes.
Great job.
Awesome. That was great. And sorry for the technical hiccup. For some reason, everything just like paused on the stream. Yeah, but we're good. We're back. Sorry for
Cool.
the disruption. Okay, so now we're going to look at Sonali's.
All right.
Cool.
I just want to get played.
Yeah.
Someone. Awesome.
Cool.
Nice stuff. Who wants to go first?
I need to catch my breath maybe on this one.
Okay.
Okay, I'll go.
Goals.
Great job on showing like Unreal implementation on most of this. That really shows like that you're thinking as a gameplay animator and not just an animator. You're trying to get things in game, in engine. You can also show different like angles. You're showing interaction between two characters. That's huge. I really like the more like that wave. It's pretty funny. You have some like good action shots. Right here, I think you can either polish this like further, or make it a little bit shorter because it's not showing too much. You can either like try to make it more of a I don't know, an action, like a different action than just looking, or you can like edit this part a little bit shorter because you're showing the idol and the movement of the head and whatnot, but doesn't show much of your like actual animation skills. And then there's between this part and the return to idol, I think there's some minor polish that you can do to make it feel a little bit more natural and not just robotic.
Yeah, it looks like a weight shift thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So other than that, I think it's cool that you're showing like this, but you have like stronger material. So I don't know if that's gonna help you or not, because it's fine if you're showing like a couple. You can even do like a different composition where you're showing all of them at the same time, or just a couple. You just pick the ones that you really like and you put those instead of like just we're seeing this one and then that one and then that one. It gets like a little bit repetitive. So you can like pick a few, and the other part was that's it. I have a few other notes, but I'll let Melissa and Lindsay say the thing. Yeah, good job.
Yeah.
Do you want to go? Or...
Sure. Yeah. So there's a lot of really cool stuff in here, like Carlos had said. The thing that kind of stood out for me, it took me a minute or two to kind of process what was going on here.
Yeah.
Because at first I was like, is that twins? Wait, are her feet?
Yeah.
It looks like her feet are sliding. Oh, that's weird. Oh, it's a turntable. So I think if you can find a way to kind of either like actually put her on a turntable, like something round that makes it stand out from actually being on the same plane. So it actually feels like the same person, but not twins, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it took me a minute. Like I actually wasn't even looking at the animation work you were doing. I was more distracted. Like, what's happening with this person? Are their feet sliding? Or oh no, okay, it's a turntable. So finding a way to like, I understand what you're trying to do, where you're wanting to show off a lot of the angles and stuff like that, but finding a way to like break that, even if you just put like a line down the middle of the screen or something, so you can tell it's two separate shots, or it's physically on like a rotating turntable or something, like you put them on like a cylinder and move them, something that just kind of differentiates the two. Because like I said, I didn't really look at the get to see the full animation because I was very fixated over there, like, wait, what's happening? There was honestly, I'll say, mad props for putting climbing in your reel.
Yeah.
Holy cow! Like
Yeah.
that is, I have never done it, and to this day, I don't know if I ever would, because climbing is not one of my strong suits. And you did it very well, actually. You know, there's a little bit of timing and weight problems, but overall, like, it's a good place to like kind of just start polishing at that point. Especially because you show like 1 meter and 2 meter clearances, and like obviously the higher you go, the harder it gets. So like, props for doing that and actually like getting it to a pretty presentable stage. Because climbing is terrifying. If you'd ask me to animate something climbing, I'd be like, no, I don't want to do that. Also, yeah, the synced interaction stuff of like two characters, like that is not easy work to do. So you show like a really good like way of being able to like do this. Like I can do this.
Yes.
There's some polishing notes on here that I would put in there, like for the knee kick. You know, when something is underweight, or you've got weight on something, it feels like whenever you kick the knee out, it just kind of stops. So unless like there's something in the knees that's actually like physically locking this character up, which I could see that for being like a robotic kind of character, maybe there's something here or built in the knees where you can't go any further. But if this was actually like a human, like skinned character, like human skin, like we all have, I would want to see like a little bit more of a dip down and a fallback, because it almost feels like you just kind of hit and then stop. So I would want to see that kind of pushed a little bit further, to really sell like, crap, my weight has been kicked out from under me, and almost like the person is catching you, like you fall, then they catch you, and then they just like right into your neck. I think you could probably bring this arm out a little bit more, because especially once you've got this like this flare happening and the guts and the blood coming out, I think you would have a stronger silhouette with pulling that arm out further. So like, get back to that frame, like bringing the arm out here. And really showing it, and like it will probably speed it up a little bit, but at least you have like a really strong silhouette where when you actually get an engine and you start getting the environment and everything around it with VFX and lighting, it gets lost on it. And it could also be just maybe changing your camera angle as well. Like if this is a player owned camera, like the player has control during this, then it might not be as bad, but you always want to kind of analyze from every angle you possibly can. So I would bring that arm out a little bit. And man, that is savage. Like,
it is.
Like I'm done. Throw the body away. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool. Like I love the wave. Everyone giggled at the wave. I thought that was really cool. That shows some personality in your work, which is awesome to see. And I like what Carlos also pointed out of, you know, the emotes and things are really fun, but it does kind of drag on a little bit. So I would pick, if you really wanted to show them, pick like the ones that shine the brightest and give those a little screen time. But like right here, you've got 2, you've got 1 here, then you've got 3 more, another one. So it does kind of wear its welcome. So if you really like want to put that on your reel and you feel very strongly about it, pick one or the strongest one and do like you did at the beginning, where like put 2 of them on the screen. But don't give them too much screen time, because then it might, you know, it might just overwear its welcome. Like, okay, like why is this here? Okay, we can move on.
Yeah.
Also, I'm very curious if this is actually mocap or if this is Xn's Movin data. That's more of just a personal curiosity, because I see how the hips bob up and down. and I'm wondering how much of a pain that was to clean up.
Yeah.
You got anything, Melissa?
Yeah, like overall, great reel. I think your demonstration of how you can clean up mocap is great. Like the fact that like your contact points here are like so clean. Like I'm like, wow, this kid knows. I don't even know if you're a kid, but this person knows mocap. I agree with stuff like pick your strongest things, ones that are gonna wow the most. You know, emotes are interesting, but like, you know, you don't need that many of them. I think regarding this piece, this is a polishing note. How many times does he stab? 1, 2, 3. There's like 3 stabs, and I think, and they're all like do. I almost would be more interested, and this could be subjective, in seeing like maybe just like breaking up again the cadence, right? Being like stab, then like the big stab that really like drops the person, right? So you know, and that will also give you an excuse to bring that arm further out, because like I understand like there's not a big antic when you're doing like tiny stabs, but if you break that up and have one, you know, finisher stab, like that's gonna like make it, I think, pop a little bit. You know, there's a lot of, you know, good mechanics pieces here. You know, upon first viewing for me, I'm like, is that mocap? Like, you know, if you're confusing animators, if it's keyframe or mocap, that's great. But yes, there's definitely like some polished stuff. Like I think there's like a Y translation here on the hips. Like it seems like there's a little bit of hang time there before he drops it down. So I would watch what is the pathing doing on your Y translation there. Super nitpicky things. I like this, you know, flourish you have when she returns to item. I would like, if you want to keep a piece like this in, I would see like what can you do to add some flourish to when she draws the sword, right? When she goes into Ido again, you know, she looking. I mean, you have her looking around. It's great, but you don't want to dwell too much on a piece like this unless it has these nice personality and character touches. So
all right, that was awesome. I think we are ready for our last one.
Cool.
Kevin's.
It's up.
It's up.
Yep.
I'll hit play. Cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll say that this one is showing a lot of good rhythm to all the shots. That's really good. I don't get like, oh, this is like boring or anything. Like every shot is like really well thought out. But like I said, I think for the first reel, there's some editing between the entire reel that I think could help with the presentation. Showing 2 times the same anim, it's fine, but I think in this particular case, it gets like a little bit repetitive. You're not showing something like super different between the 2 angles. It's a good anim, but if you want to show 2 different angles, I'll almost show them both at the same time, like pick like a on screen like 2 different ones, and you can show different angles. But showing the entire thing 2 times, you're basically 1/3 of your reel is the same anim playing twice, which is not like what you want. Other than that, I think there's some really good things. This attack I really like. The way the arms are moving and everything. You can, there's some Wait. Oh no, that's fine. For some reason, I thought that the sword was disappearing, but it's fine. I think this shot is like really fun, but the cameras, I'm not sure if it's working for me. That's really subjective. I really like the anime overall. This one is really like fun, but there's some things when it gets back to idle, you're either like editing like this part, you have like a few dead frames. There's not much happening, so your whole good action gets like eaten by these few frames with nothing. So you either do like a better settle into the idle pose, or you just edit this part out and remove the few dead frames. This one is really cool, but I feel, I don't know, I almost feel like it should be a little bit shorter.
I almost want to see her go into an action, right?
Right, yeah. It leads me like, oh, something is about to happen, but then we go with this one, which is like different. So yeah, I will try to add something else or make it a little bit shorter, so you're just showing, oh, okay, this is like a type of walk, a sneaky walk or careful walk or whatever. But other than that, a really good job on the animes overall. It's just like editing the real overall, the composition and how do you pick and choose your animes.
Yeah. Melissa, you got anything?
Yeah. It'll add to what Carlos said. I think I forgot which one of you guys mentioned in one of the earlier reels, like your camera is another character.
Right.
I almost want to see you challenge yourself in animating some specific cameras for this. Like I understand, of course, you want to show like the action. What is the sword doing? But this is such a wide view, right?
Yes.
I want to get in closer so I can see what she's doing, how she's commanding the sword, right? So, see what you can do. Like, is the camera like following her from behind, and then and it opens up to show the action or whatever, right? But I think adding that could definitely plus some of this work. I get Sarah Connor vibes from this.
Yeah.
I think it's a very strong run cycle. I like it, like the bounce, the sway. I like it. It's just got subtle attitude in it.
Yeah.
So this again, super fun as well. The obstacles. I think again with the adding a camera to help tell the story will help, because upon first watch, I don't really see these as like a set,
Yes.
a threat piece, right? So something he's or an obstacle he's trying to get through, right? So see where you can tell the story of like, oh, he's got to get through this because he wants the pizza and this dude is in the way, right? Let's see. Like I would almost, instead of having this guy in a neutral pose, have him combat ready.
Right.
He looks like he's guarding the pizza. He should be ready that an intruder is coming in, right? Often when we have like two character interaction scenes, like you don't want like the target victim character to just be like standing there, like unless they're being ambushed or something, like he can actually see him, so he should look ready. And I think same here with like a camera movement, like the action will lead your camera, like your camera will start to follow this up. And you can like here, like the camera doesn't rotate up at all to follow the action, so that will help. And if you're doing a cut like this, you can start with the camera also angled up, and then it'll come down following his action of landing, right? So that's a key thing. Like action will lead the eye, and think of the camera as an eye or another character, right, reacting to what's happening in the scene. I think this is a super fun character to work with. Great bounce there. Definitely the polish notes that college Carlos had. This too, like I want to see what she's sneaking up on. And if you have the time, continue this story because it looks good. And this same thing, I don't think this needs a second, angle to be played through. Like I want to say that if anyone is thinking of like having to replay an animation twice, like you got to think about what value is that bringing, because we like short and sweet demo reels. We want to see your strongest pieces. We don't want to get bored, basically. So yeah, Lindsay.
Yeah, I like this one. I really appreciate actually putting like the grid on the ground, because sometimes people really try to sell speed, but when you have nothing in the scene to kind of convey how fast they're going, it kind of gets lost. So like, awesome job actually getting like a texture in here to really say like, oh, this person's moving, or this character is moving, because it really does sell that very well. The sneaking one, I remember long ago, way back in the day when I was young and in college, where it was said like sneaking is one of the hardest things to animate, because you have to think of so many things that you're doing, or like your body is doing while you're sneaking, and it can be misconstrued into so many different things. Like, so I think there's like a really good foundation for this, and I agree. Like, I want to know what she's sneaking up to. I'm super curious to like, wait, why? Why is she sneaking? Like, what's over there that she needs to be so cautious over? I would watch, like, kind of seeing this now, pay attention to like the hips and how they're going to move in the space. Because right now, if you kind of stop it on this frame, it almost looks like she's a little bit off balance. But like, these are super nitpicky notes, obviously. But like Melissa said, if you've got the time, definitely like put something in there so we know like what she's sneaking up on, because I think that's really cool to see. I really like the detail to her eyes of how like she's kind of looking around, like she's very aware, like something's going down. It's leaving me in suspense and I want to know what it is. But like the detail of like just the eye glances, but still being kind of focused on her target, really sells well in this. Also, like another thing of attention to detail that came out was in this, of like the camera is pretty far out, so if you brought it in, I think it would kind of sing even more. But like the fingers read even from this far away like very nicely. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of like you can see the spread when she comes down, like how wide the fingers get, and with a stronger camera angle, like I think this would be really, really good. And I think out of the reel entirely, this is probably your strongest asset, in my opinion. I think it does well being up at the front. So really, really good job, like picking one of your stronger ones and putting it there. I also love this one too. Like, it's very subtle personality, but like you get it, and it just reads really well. Like, if it's simple, but it's not simple. It's got like
swag and you
like, and to be able to sell like subtlety like that, like
subtlety
is small, but it pays so big if you achieve it. And you did really well on this. So like, awesome job. Yeah, like, agree. It's like, try not to play something 2 times unless it absolutely needs to be played 2 times. But I think the animation itself is actually really good. Just find like a really good camera angle to work with, and it'll sing even more. Yeah, awesome job.
Well, that was awesome.
Cool.
And that is also the end of the day. You brought it home. That was awesome. Thank you for taking the time to give that feedback. Thanks everyone for sending in your reels. I know that's sometimes a scary prospect to do, but there's got a bunch of great stuff there. So that's it. End of day 1. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks to all of the speakers for your time and for sharing all the knowledge. Tomorrow we'll be back, same time, with a bunch more cool talks. So join us back then. Yeah, thanks again. Carlos, Lindsay, Melissa, your pros. That was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye, chat. See y'all tomorrow.
See ya.
And